Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 256 of the Canadian Football Countdown, a proud member of the Canadian Football Podcast Network and the Alternative Football Network. Ryan, Trey, and Adam here with you again this evening for our Week 4 CFL preview. 3 weeks are down. We're on to Week 4, and storylines aplenty here early in the CFL season. We'll talk major storylines for each of the matchups, fantasy players to watch, and make our betting picks against the spread, over, under, and some player props on each of the games here as well. Also, maybe take a quick look back at notable stuff from Week 3. We're also here to take your comments and questions in our live chat throughout the night, so make sure you send those in if you're joining us live. And that's all brought to you by our presenting sponsor, Game Time TV. You can learn more at GameTimeTV.ca or Facebook.com/GameTimeTVMB. Before we go any further, let's bring in the rest of the crew here this evening. A man who, when he's not on the podcast, might be getting burned at the stake at Princess Auto Stadium. He puts the power in power rankings. It's the great Trey Kolpak.
I've had a great week with that, man. Insufferable Bomber fans are just the best. I love it. I can't make 0-3 is not the best to whoever said that, and I love that. But yeah, I'm doing okay. Adam, man, is that the New Jersey or is that an old one?
No, this is the New Jersey.
Oh, is that the new one?
mean,
Nice.
I thought you would have picked one up already. I mean, you pretty much gave the Riders number 1 overall, right?
They're still number 2. They're still number 2, but they got to stop winning with gimmicky fourth quarter comebacks, and then they'll be number 1.
So, but last week, really, they didn't win in the fourth quarter. I mean, we won it in the second quarter or first quarter, or whenever they kicked the ball off, pretty much is when we won that game. But, sorry, Hamilton. Good week, though, for Saskatchewan to have a bye, ain't it?
Yeah, first big quarterback injury of the year, hey? I'm surprised we made it through almost all the way through Week 3 before we got there with Trevor Harris going down. And I don't know, he might be back after the bye. I don't think it looked that serious in hindsight, so that's good news there. We always want to start off the show by acknowledging that the Canadian Football Countdown is brought to you from Treaty 1 territory, traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, Cree, Ojibwe, Dakota, and Dene peoples, and the homeland of the Métis Nation, as well as from Treaty 4 territory, traditional territory of the Cree, Saulteaux, Dakota, Lakota, Nakota, and Métis Nation. Quick mention as well of the Discord community. If you haven't joined us there yet, get on over there. There's a link in the episode description to join us for free over there. We've got lots going on there regularly. General CFL chatter, Adam's polls in there, Trey's power rankings go in there as well if you don't see those on social media already. CFL fantasy chatter, prop bets and betting. Trey and I are throwing out like 5 player props pretty much every single game when we can in the Discord in the betting channel, if that's something that interests you. So lots going on there in the live game day chats as well. So link in the episode description if that's something that interests you there. We're going to get into talking about the 4 games from this next week, but quick thoughts on what you guys saw in Week 3. Anybody got one quick thought? We'll go around the table of what was most notable to you from this past week. Adam, you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. I think probably most notable this week was the first thing I noticed was, again, it's still the play of the Canadian wide receiver right now. Tyson Philpo has been great. Nick Dembski looks like he's maybe starting to get into form. Still a little bit back, but he's looking like he's getting better. You've got, of course, Justin McInnes in BC. You've got Keon Schaefer-Baker, and a nobody that nobody knew about was Ajo. I said, all of a sudden, he looks okay. And Saskatchewan, there's so many great, it's kind of like a renaissance of Canadian wide receivers right now. I know that Milt Stiegel talked about a little bit himself. It's great to see so many great wide receivers, especially Canadians right now in the league. Trey, what do you got that's so special about Week 3?
Damn, the Bombers suck. That's the biggest takeaway that I got is, man, I can't sometimes their O-line looks like, what was that country that we were talking about in the juniors that the O-line just collapsed playing Team Canada? Like, that's kind of what I think that's a lot of O-lines around the league are looking like, and maybe that's my biggest takeaway overall. Not many good O-lines.
but a ton of great offense, right?
Yeah.
Like the offense has been insane. There's a tweet from the CFL PR kind of reviewing week 3. Highest so far this season, 62.4 points per game. So we talk about the betting lines around 46 and 50. Well, we averaged 62.4 in week 3. 16 touchdown passes to 5 interceptions, only 6 receivers above 100 yards. Kickers were 14 to 16 on field goal attempts, and 23 big plays, the most in 1 week this year. I thought I saw something earlier today as well, and I don't remember where. I was on X, but the number of long passes this year has been almost like double of what we've seen. And we're going to get into that with the preview this year as well. But I think there's a couple of quarterbacks that we wrote off last year on the long ball and said these are possession quarterbacks that are finding their stride with the deep ball here. And it's offense aplenty here early on in the season, that's for sure. I've noticed that with the fantasy scores as well. I mean, you had folks passing 200 points this past week in fantasy. And you look at our leagues, our Discord league, where it's like 1 week the lowest score is 110, and the next week it's 120. And this isn't fantasy of the past where it was okay, yeah, maybe if you hit 120, that's a good week overall. So offense aplenty early in the season. I think we got our first taste of blowouts this week also. Like that Montreal Ottawa game was over before it even began on Thursday night. Same thing with that Hamilton Saskatchewan game on Sunday. But you got a couple thrillers between BC and Winnipeg and Edmonton and Toronto in there as well. So great start to the year for the CFL as a whole, I gotta say. I'm really high on what I've seen so far from the league so far this season.
Can't argue that. I mean, even the Edmonton-Toronto game, everybody thought Toronto was just going to blow them out. Edmonton was right there, ball for ball, essentially, with Toronto. They gave Toronto a -3. I mean, where else do you go from there? I mean, yeah, you're right. The offense has just been huge this year.
All right, let's get into our first game here of week number 4. It is the aforementioned Edmonton Elks heading to BC Place to face the BC Lions. Lions open up as 7-point favorites in here. I love Edmonton BC matchups. They bring up my favorite stat of all time that I keep tracking year after year, which is in their last 7 meetings, the BC Lions have outscored the Edmonton Elks 265 to 82, including 2 shutouts in their 3 matchups last season. In recent history, I don't know if you get more of a traditional beatdown than this, but it is a new year. It is new teams, and we've seen some sparks from the teams. So I'll open the floor here. What's most interesting to you guys in these matchups here, Trey?
I think what I'm looking forward to is Edmonton and seeing if they could finally put a win together too, because Saskatchewan's kind of been the ones getting lucky, getting maybe 2 or 3 wins here. Edmonton and Hamilton are on the other side, and they've kind of been unlucky giving teams wins, right? And Edmonton's for sure the one. I wonder if Bethel Thompson, he was criticizing the league this week, wasn't he? So, I mean, I think he needs to focus on the game and not how many days are in between a game, because what they play on Saturday, and he's complaining about playing Thursday or something like that, or something like that. Man, that's NFL does it. They always got Sunday to Thursday. I don't want to hear it. So, I mean, focus on the game and get things going, because that offense, I think that's an offense that could be dangerous potentially once they get clicking. So that's kind of what I'm looking for in this game. But again, BC, I think BC is going to be BC. I think Ryan's going to be safe in fantasy for another week. Adam?
Yeah, no, I think I'm looking at the same thing, the Edmonton offense, and in particular, one position they're trying to work in, and Ryan told me there was no such thing as running back controversy in Edmonton. Did you know they're trying to work in Javon Leake a lot more than I thought they would have tried to work him into that offense? Yeah. He's been playing quite a little bit. Kevin Brown's been sitting a little bit. Not saying there's a controversy. It's still Kevin Brown's run game. But you know what? Javon Leake is the guy I'm going to be watching this week. He had a pretty good week against his old team in Toronto last week. I think he's going to have another good week this week. But in the end, I'm sure it's going to be what I think it's going to be. The BC offense is pretty good too. And a little bit of controversy at the beginning of the week with Vernon Adams Jr. being questionable, something about upper body. earlier this week, and now he is sounded like he's good to go. He's on the depth chart anyways. Right?
Yeah, you say it's still Kevin Brown's room. I mean, I guess, but right now it's nobody's room at the running back position in Edmonton because nobody, like Kevin Brown, to the first had 7 carries only in each of them. And in the middle one, he had 11. And McLeod Bethel Thompson is throwing 38, 45 times a game, every single game here so far this year. So to me, that is what the Edmonton offense is going to be. And it was kind of like that last year too, where early in the season when Cornelius, good old Cornelius, was at quarterback, is Kevin Brown kind of struggled. But as soon as Trey Ford took over second half of the season, Kevin Brown had himself a fantastic year and I think finished like 3rd in rushing or something like that. So, having that mobile quarterback option, I guess, opens things up for him where it doesn't right now because nobody's expecting McLeod Bethel Thompson to run at all. They're expecting him to throw over and over and over again. So I think that's why the running game's been slow for Edmonton so far. But yeah, their offense has been good, but their defense has really not helped them out, allowing 29 points, 23 points, 39 points. If you give up 39 points in a game, your offense could put 5 touchdowns on the board, but you're just not going to win.
Yeah, no, their defense has been very poor. And this week they've got 2 of the best receivers in the league to deal with in Justin McInnis and Alexander Hollins. Oh, and by the way, that running back game for the BC Lions so far, William Stanback has looked okay, but I think it's also the presence of Vernon Adams Jr. in there, a guy that's been known to run, could really cause Edmonton a lot of problems in this game here, especially. The other question I had for you guys, and I just got a real quick one here. Edmonton, of course, we all know Chris Jones. It's kind of getting a little more pressure on him, maybe a little bit in Edmonton. They kind of are wanting to get a win. They wanted a Game 7 win. They didn't get that. So how much now is there pressure on Chris Jones? Is the seat starting to get warm, or is it still something that needs to be dealt with probably in the offseason because of all the moves and possibly team selling and all that? What's your guys' thoughts on Chris Jones right now?
First off, shout out to the one true great hockey state of Florida. If we're putting betting odds on who's the most likely coach to get fired this year, I would put Chris Jones as my front runner, right? He's had a couple of years of struggles. I think there's other teams that are struggling so far that they're going to get more chances. Like Winnipeg at 0-3, Mike O'Shea ain't getting fired this year. They could win 5 games this year or less, and O'Shea ain't getting canned. Right? They're giving him another chance after that. Milanovic and Hamilton, they're 0-3 to start the year. I don't see, he just took over the head coaching role, and they have so much roster turnover. I can't see it. So yeah, Chris Jones would be my front runner. What do you think, betting expert Trey?
I kind of agree with the first statement Adam said. I don't think it's going to happen this year because the whole GM kind of throws things into chaos too. Kind of harder to find a GM, I feel, mid-season than coach. Maybe I'm wrong. And the same with the team sale. It's probably more of a selling point to be like, hey, we have a general manager than, by the way, you have to buy the team and find a new general manager too. I think it's a little – I know some people like to come in and bring their own guy in, a new face in when they come in. But I think he's safe to the end of the year. But I guess I would put him number 1 still. You're right, between the undefeated or not undefeated, winless teams. I can't see Osh going. And why am I stumped on Hamilton's? It's still Coach O. Milanovic. Sorry, Milanovic. I don't see him going anytime soon either. So. Yeah, I think most coaches are safe.
I think so, yeah.
I'll play the devil's argument on the Chris Jones one, though. For one thing, Trey, G-Roy Simon would make an awesome general manager. He's right behind him.
That's true.
So if you got rid of Chris Jones, you got G-Roy Simon right in the wings. I think even a coach right now, if you let go of Chris Jones, Jason Shivers would make a pretty good coach. So to me, there's the ability to do it. I don't know if they want to do it, though. That's the other question.
No, fair.
The one other storyline I had to pull into kind of what you were talking about there before with VA and those two great receivers for the Lions so far, as we talked about last week, that again, it's just like BC's honing in on two receivers and where's the depth behind them. And it's another week where it's basically the same thing. And, big news out of BC, Travis Fulgham, their big NFL cast-off brought in the preseason, was released this week. And rightfully so, because when you catch the ball 4 times in your last 14 targets and fumble one of them, you're not helping the team win in that category. So Fulgham's out. I know Javon Cotoy is back this week, but Stanley Berryhill III, who was mentioned on our college players to watch with Brandon Sanders a couple weeks ago, is had a solid debut there for the Lions at receiver. Let's get into fantasy players for this particular game. I love the BC Lions, man. I gotta get a BC jersey or something like that stack. 60-something points in week 1, 70 in week 2, 80-something in week 3 from the stack of Vernon Adams, Justin McInnis, and Alexander Hollins. It's hard to go away from that, to be honest, and not just build your lineup around that. I'm always waiting for that moment when it is going to come crashing down, because it will happen one of these weeks. But Vernon Adams, he's the most expensive quarterback, but 23, 28.1, and 26.3 fantasy points. Edmonton gives up a lot of points. You'd expect VA to have himself a pretty good day if that injury is not bothering him there. Hollins, McInnis, those are go-tos. I mean, Hollins put up 40.5 points last week. McInnis has had 15 or more in every single game. Probably don't go the direction of another BC receiver. Maybe if you need a cheap play and want to bank on somebody other than those two guys. I haven't checked yet what Berryhill's price is at, but I'm going to guess it's, $2,500. So you can get a $2,500 receiver that made a good name for himself this last week in Berryhill there. What do you guys, we'll talk about the Elks here yet, but I'm curious your guys' thoughts on William Stanback, because I'm iffy on him. Like, he seems explosive at times, but he's not racking up the points.
Yeah, I'm kind of, I get where you keep going with the BC Lions, but I'm kind of like scared of them too, because at some point Hollins and McInnis have to stop catching everything, right? And it's going to start getting spread around, and kind of like that with Stanback as well. He's got the opportunity, but I feel like they throw the ball so dang well. Why run it? Honestly, so it's kind of a double-edged sword there, I think, in BC, that offensively, to some degree, they have so much talent, then maybe there's going to be a team who shuts them down in the air, and they're going to have to lean on Stanback. So when's that week coming, right, Adam?
Yeah, I think I agree, but you know what? Edmonton has been proven that they cannot stop the run except for when it's AJ Ouellette. But otherwise, they can't seem to stop the run properly. Walter Fletcher ran all over him. Kadeem Carey had over 100 yards. And that's also substituting Whitten McManus in. So to me, like I said, I think that it's a game that, yes, William Stanback has proven that he's maybe taken a step back, but it's the Edmonton Elks, and I think this is one of those that you have to take it because of the opposition, not because of what he can do. I think that I'm going to go I think right now on my roster I have 3 out of the guys that you're talking about, Stanback, VA, and Hollins, I think is what I've got right now. So.
Yeah, Stanback's one of the matchups really good. I mean, the Elks do give up a lot to running backs, but it is tough. I think the biggest problem for me with Stanback so far this year is no touchdowns, right? So 83 yards on the ground, 69 yards on the ground. Those are great in the last 2 weeks, but no catches and no touchdowns in either of those games. So you're finishing under 10 points if you don't get either of those. So I want to see more steady involvement from him but the matchup is tempting. I will admit that. On the Edmonton side in this game, we actually had a good question from Josh in the Discord earlier today about is MBT a solid fantasy play, but none of the wide receivers are because they all end up canceling each other out. I don't think so necessarily in Edmonton. I think I hone in on, in particular, Curly Gittens Jr. and Dylan Mitchell as 2 very intriguing plays. Gittens has had between 15 and 17 points every game, 8+ targets every game. He's getting the ball a lot. If MBT's throwing the ball 40 times a game, he's going to get the ball in that. And same thing with Dylan Mitchell, where he's had 6+ targets a game and over 60 or more yards in each of them. So he's the big play guy. Gittins is the possession guy. I like to say go based off of what you need. If you need a safe floor, go with the guy that's going to catch the ball a lot. If you need the big play potential, go with Dylan Mitchell. And I think there's room against BC for them to put some points there. I'm not going to Kevin Brown. I'm probably not going McLeod, Bethel Thompson. I think I like a lot of other quarterbacks better, but I would consider those two receivers. Anybody else from this game that we haven't talked about already you guys have in mind?
Yeah, you know what? Actually, I wanted to bring up one more. Eugene Lewis. I wouldn't. Honestly, he looks like one of those guys that you should. He's overpaid. You got to overpay for him, and he really hasn't produced anything this year. So if you're thinking you're getting a deal because Eugene Lewis is a little bit lower than usual, you're not.
Yeah, I am down on him too. I mean, 10 to 12 points in every game, but that's not the Eugene Lewis we're used to.
Yeah, but there's other players that you can get 15, 16 yard points a game and pay less than that. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I would stay away from him at receiver as well. Anybody else from this game for you, Trey?
Surprisingly, Edmonton is still kind of on my do not fly list. I do like the couple of receivers you mentioned, Ryan, but other than that, I kind of, I don't know. I was like, Gittins has been kind of cashing in on my over-unders on receptions and yards and stuff and betting wise, but I just have a little fear of him in fantasy for some reason. But other than that, no.
Yeah, that's totally fair. BC's defense, I would put as probably one of my top defense plays because MBT does turn the ball over a little bit here and there. If their defense can get to them, there's not a lot of great defensive plays this week. So the one good defense play there has a tough matchup. So I would consider BC perhaps. They did put up 9 points in their week 2 game against Calgary. And have been able to put some sacks on the board. All right, let's talk betting picks for this game. Do you want to give us? Do you got the quick recap from last week here to kick us off, Trey?
Yeah. I
think you did.
I don't have which games we got right, but over the spread, I was 3-1 last week. Ryan, you went 1-3. The coin went 2-2, and Adam went 1-3. Which puts me at 8-3-1. Ryan's second at 6-5-1. The coin, our new bronze medal holder, 5-6-1, and Adam 4-7-1. And the trailing here, but the over/under, we don't have the coin, so Adam doesn't have to worry about that. You guys both went 3-1, while I went 4-0 on over/unders last week. So you guys are 8-4, and I'm 7-5. So I still have to catch you on the over/unders, but I'm doing okay on the spread. And I'm still 11-1 on money line. So we'll keep that going this week, I hope, as well. Back-to-back perfect weeks. I can't say I've had that too many times. If I had that more in both CFL or NFL betting, I would not be on this podcast. I'd be living in a beach somewhere. But we'll get it. We'll see what goes this week. Big game Thursday night, late night Thursday night. I'll probably be in Betty Bye. But Edmonton +7 on the road going into BC Place. No 50 Cent this week. No big concerts that I know of. Is there?
Not that I know of.
Of them. But I'll be honest. I'll be transparent to our loyal fans. I did have Edmonton typed in originally because the +7 originally because BC's games have been relatively close. They only beat Winnipeg by 2. I think it was 9 against Calgary a couple weeks ago. It would have been. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, it ended up being 9, but I felt like it was close, and then they lost by 8. So I thought the games are all in around a touchdown. But let's see what's I got. Some orange Kool-Aid today with the Riders being on the bye. We're going to go with that this week. So give me BC money line and BC -7. And the over-under 52.5. I'll take the over still because I think Edmonton's going to put up points. They'll put up because BC's D is at times too. So Edmonton could put up 20, 25 BC could win 35-25, and that's well over.
I'll piggyback off of that and say I'm giving the exact same thing here. I got the orange lights on in the studio for a reason. It's because I'm all in on these BC Lions. And let me just pull that stat up for you one more time. 265-82 in their last 7 games. I know that's not solid betting advice, and it's a different team, but there's something about it. There's these trends, right? It's the things like, regardless of the record, how long did it take Winnipeg to win a game on Labor Day in Regina? It never mattered what the records were. It seems to be lately that for BC Edmonton. So I'll take the Lions here to win this one. 52.5 is a scary over. That's a high number. But I also think both these teams are going to put up points, and the Elks will not get bold pick here. I'm sure the odds are great. The Elks will not get shut out in this game by the BC Lions. So yeah, give me BC -7 and give me the over. Adam, are you completing the run here?
Yeah, I think I probably will. I mean, BC, they've been dominant at BC Place Stadium against the Edmonton. Edmonton still has players that remember that blowout and the shutouts and everything else. They clearly don't like going to BC. So give me the BC Lions. And I'm going to take the over as well. You know what? It doesn't take much to hit the over in this one, like you said, Trey. If BC hits 30, which is very, very possible, and Edmonton could still have a pretty good chance of at least getting 2 or 3 touchdowns. So, yeah, it shouldn't take much, I think. So, yeah, over in BC. And the coin, again, if anybody remembers, because I've been gone so long, the coin, the head is the home team. And that's the away team.
We can't see that.
I know. I'm just being a jerk. Anyways, I'm going to flip this thing here. And then I threw it over in the other corner. It is a head, so that's the home team. So it says the BC Lions will win this week.
It would have been great if it took Edmonton.
And then won.
Yeah.
Shows us all up.
I pulled up the player props on FanDuel as we have the past couple of weeks. They're interesting on this game. I don't know if you have them up there as well, Trey, but I think the VA injury scared off some of the props here because there's no VA passing yards or anything like that. There's no reception totals, which is disappointing because that's been my go-to on Hollins and Gittins and all those guys. So you kind of just got to go off of yardage. All those 4 receivers I mentioned, Dylan Mitchell, Gittins Jr., Hollins, McInnes, I think reasonably any of them could hit their overs in this game. Those would be probably my favorites. So what interests you guys?
Like you said, they're not up there, but I'm sure if VA is playing, something will be up on game day. I'm likely to take the over of whatever it is, unless it's like 400 and some yards. And the same thing with Gittins receptions, whatever it is when it's up, I'm likely to take the over. And we kind of talked about stand back. You know what? Why not throw the under 68.5? Because the offense is so potent that they probably won't run to him that much. Adam?
I'm going to probably go a stand back on the over for sure. Just because I think after BC gets a lead, they're just going to hammer the ball. I'm going to go also with Edmonton. I'm going to actually go on Kevin Brown. I'm not sure what his over-under is, but I'm going to go with the under.
52.5.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the under on Kevin Brown. Yeah. I think that BC's front line could shut down Edmonton's running quick game. So I'll go with those 2 for now. So.
Interestingly, the line on McLeod Bethel Thompson is 315.5 passing yards. And honestly, I don't know what to take on that one when he throws 40 times a game.
Yeah, that's the problem. He throws lots. So
I would probably go the under. That seems high. But also, I expect him to throw for over 300 in almost every game. So maybe, I don't know. I'm not loving any of these props as much as I thought I would on this game, to be honest, so far. But I think there are some good ones there on those receivers. And if you want a good anytime touchdown prop, give me Stanley Berryhill at plus 240. let's move on to our next game here. Unless you got anything else there you were looking at, Trick.
Nope, I'm good.
Nope. All right, sounds good. Moving on to our next game here, which is the Montreal Alouettes visiting the Toronto Argonauts. Rematch of last year's East Final. Oops, Chad Kelly just threw another interception. As he did 6 times. The last time these two teams met out there on the field. Toronto, the home team, but they're 3-point underdogs in this one. What's the most interesting storylines for you guys here? Let's start with you, Adam.
Yeah, I think the most interesting one for me is the Toronto defense. They looked pretty awful against a team that they should have been handling pretty easily. So if they do that against Montreal, they're going to get blown out of the water. I think they'll be better than what they showed in week 3, I guess it was, against the Elks. I think they'll be a little bit better, but boy, that didn't instill me with a lot of confidence watching McLeod Bethel-Thompson running the football up and down the field against the Argonauts. Guys, anything on the Argos D?
I mean, they're another one of those weird teams. Like their defense is but then they put up 30 plus points back-to-back games, right? So I mean, it's kind of like they're kind of like the Riders and kind of like Edmonton on their side. There's not many teams in this league I think have a great defense right now. There's a couple, but not like many of them. So I don't know. Are they coming off the bye too? Right. So you never know what that means. Oh no, they're not. Oh no, that's by
Edmonton, right?
But then that's right. Bye in week 2. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, Toronto's defense is what I expected it to be, right? It was the same thing last year. They're giving up over 300 passing yards a game, yet they went 16-2 somehow, right? Because their offense was that good. Real storyline for me for Toronto here is this is the test for Cameron Dukes. Like Montreal's defense is a nightmare to face. We saw what happened to Drew Brown last week until, he put some points up later in the game, but the game was far out of reach basically by that point, and they ate him alive. So this is the test. Cam Dukes has looked very good so far in his 2 wins. But now he's facing that Montreal defense, so I want to see what he can pull off in that one. What about over on the Montreal side?
I think what I'm looking at is Tyson Philpo and Reggie White Jr. going to pull exactly what they did last week. I can't see it being 2 times in a row. But boy, that offense of Montreal's, it looks awful potent. I mean, Fajardo looks like he's having a career year. As I just said, Reggie White Jr. came back from injury, looks great. Tyson Philpo has found another game within his game, essentially. And now they also seem like they have a legitimate running back in Walter Fletcher. Is there any flaws in the Montreal offense, or am I looking at this wrong?
I don't know. I'm kind of like the same way we're talking about this as a test game for Toronto. I also think it is for Montreal to some degree because it's battle for first right now. Both teams are undefeated, regardless of how Toronto did it. And then the next time, I think I'm going quickly through the schedule. The next time Toronto or Montreal has a tough game, they got Calgary next week. That could be, and they got Toronto again. And then they have Hamilton. So Hamilton could be 0-7 by that time. And then they have Saskatchewan, who both could be undefeated by week 8. And that could be a great game. That might be the next time they have a big test. So, I mean, so we'll see. I think this is a big test for them here because Toronto could still be Toronto. They're still finding ways to win. Montreal's defense hasn't been great at times either. And Cameron Dukes could slice it apart as well. Right. So, and there's still a lot of offensive weapons on Toronto. Like, sure, their defense isn't great, but the
7-0 Rough Riders. Jeez, Trey.
Bring out the Western Dressler 7 jerseys that week, huh, boy? Let's go.
Good boy.
The script is different, though. Like it's very different from when these two teams last played. Like we were talking about going into that game. I think you guys in that playoff game may have taken Montreal. You had that underdog feeling, but the vast majority of people were saying, Toronto's gonna 16-2 season. Like this is all formality. Like Toronto's off the Grey Cup in this one, right? They were the clear favorites going in based on the year. Montreal has not lost a game since September of last season. I think they've won 10 or 11 straight games now. And Toronto's still looking very good. So I think it's going to be a very even matchup between these two teams, and it's going to be an exciting one that I can't wait to watch, really. Either way, I don't think there's a team. I don't think I would put one team as the clear favorite over the other in this one so far. And it seems like betting lines are kind of leaning towards that as well. Any other big storylines we've got here? Tavares Daniels is back. Deshaun Brissett is out. Darius Siracco's out, according to FM Fan in the chat. Some big injury swaps there for the Argos. But anything else interest you, or should we get right into fantasy?
Notes, if you're looking at a good defense, I mean, Montreal's got a lot of guys that can make some big plays. Started with a B. I thought last week he had a forced fumble, had a fumble recovery, and had another play. What was it, Brizois or Briswen? It was a French name. I apologize. I can't get the name right.
Beverett. Tyrese Beverett.
I think that might be it. Had a great game last week, so be interesting to see how he does this week against a Toronto offense that, well, depends who he's covering. If it's Tavares Daniels, it'll be interesting to see how he does.
Interestingly, looking at the depth chart, Kadeem Carey is listed as questionable to play. He was limited on Tuesday, but a full participant in Wednesday. So I would think Kadeem Carey plays, but also they've got two pretty good running backs behind him, like Deontay McMahon, who ran for like 50 yards on 4 carries last week. So, given Carey's injury history, I don't know about you guys, but I would consider letting him rest a little bit longer if I've got some good depth there behind him to make sure that he can keep being the same Kadeem Carey we've seen all season long.
I think you got to play him. Division game early, battle of undefeated. I know you want to save him, but I think that's maybe why he probably missed a practice or two. To be honest, it's the old mind games. Our running back who's putting up 20-plus points in fantasy, he's going to sit out a day or two and be listed as questionable. And then maybe that Montreal doesn't think about the run game as much. But even like you said, though, they have 2 good backups. So I don't know. I'm not too concerned about Carey. Adam?
No, I'm not concerned about Carey either, really. I mean, you're right. I think that's more mind games than anything. And, hey, you can always rest a guy that knows the playbook a little bit. He's a veteran. He's fine. Give him the day off, or give him just a few reps just to make sure he's okay, and let him sit on the side. It's good to get McManus or Adebayo some extra carries.
Absolutely. Let's get into fantasy players to watch for this game. It could be an exciting game we've got going here. Let's start with the 2 quarterbacks here. Fajardo and Cameron Dukes have both been putting up points and numbers so far this year. Fajardo's 14K. Dukes is 10.5. I really like the Fajardo play. Again, Argos are giving up a lot of yards on defense once again this year. And Fajardo has looked good. At least 2 touchdown passes in each game, only 1 interception in the first 3 games of the season. He's cleaned that up. He's hitting the deep balls. That's one of the quarterbacks that all of last year he was conservative, and he's gone back to original where he broke out with the Riders, where he's slinging it deep and making some big plays here. Also 20-plus rushing yards in each game so far. So I really like Fajardo. Dukes has been impressive, 31.9, 24.3. These are the same numbers we saw from Chad Kelly last season early on as well. That made him the fantasy superstar. I'm maybe a little hesitant to go with Dukes because I'm worried about that matchup with Montreal this week, and I think there are enough other good quarterback options that I don't think I do the Dukes play this week necessarily, but I still really like him, and I wouldn't be surprised if he puts it up to 20+. We'll just go position. I'll get your guys' thoughts on the quarterbacks. Either of those in your lineup?
I mean, if I swap OVA, it'll be Fajardo. So,
yeah, that's fair. Running backs, Walter Fletcher. I kind of like that play. Consistency is good to see there. 12 carries a game, so he's got that decent, consistent workload. He's also got 5 targets in 2 games, 3 targets in the other, and he's caught almost all of his targets so far. So Combined 100 receiving yards in the last 2 games for Walter Fletcher. That is a fantasy dream there, and he's rising in price, I believe, but I don't know what his price is now. I don't have that written down. $9,000, still pretty cheap for Walter Fletcher. I like that play. Kadeem Carey's tempting. He's put up 20 points a game, but again, if he's questionable and they've got those other guys rotating in, that maybe makes me slightly more hesitant at running back. While I pull up my list of receivers to look through here, any thoughts on the running backs here for either of these teams?
I'll be honest, I got both in my lineup right now. I think this is probably the game I have the most player. I think this is the only game I have 3 players in right now, and I have both running backs. Again, depending on Carey's health, but I think if he's healthy, he's one of those must plays, and same with Fletcher too. I think, yeah. And with a game like this, both teams are going to gunsling it. You have to establish a run game, right? So I think both running games will be used. Adam?
Yeah, I think with, like I said, the one player I would love to have would be Walter Fletcher this week. I can't afford him. I'm going to try to figure out a way maybe to afford him, but we'll see how that works out. I would like Fletcher on my roster this week. We may even talk about him a little later on in what do you call it? CFC Fantasy, if we do get to that later on too. So.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the receivers here. Toronto, I'm staying away from everybody. I think last week against Edmonton, Dukes threw 21 times and to 10 different receivers in that game. The most targets somebody had was Tommy Neild, who I believe was the backup, had 4 targets. So it's same thing as last year. Nobody stands out. Nobody's worth the money to me right now on the Argos side because you don't know who's getting the ball. So none of those receivers interest me, but I got to say, Montreal ones sure do. I mean, how do you not? I made the mistake of not putting them in last week. How do you not put Tyson Philpott in there when he's getting as many looks as he has? He has 2 games of over 140 yards on the year. He's getting those deep passes, getting those touchdowns. He's getting those targets. Yeah, he's getting more expensive at the same time, but Tyson Philpott is intriguing. I would put Keon Julian Grant in that intriguing category as well, 14.9 and 19.6 in his last 2 games. He had a huge one this last week. And Reggie White Jr. is actually still coming in at a pretty decent price at $5,400. Had 2 touchdowns last week, and I know folks in the Discord have been asking for the return of my fantasy charts. They're coming back soon, but I can tell you Reggie White Jr., if he lines up left slot back against the Argos, once again, they're still giving up a ton of points to that position as they did last year. So that might actually be my favorite Montreal receiver play this week is Reggie White Jr. I got to imagine somebody from either of these teams is in your guys' lineups at receiver.
Currently, Phil Poe's in my lineup. I may swap a player out for Reggie White Jr., depending exactly. I want to see the depth chart, and then I'll see what I do there. But those 2 guys I would really like to play this week. So Toronto, you're right. I got nothing right now until something settles down there.
I got my lock in Philpott, and Adam, I'll still trade for him any week, man. In our
I'm sure you would. I'm sure you would. You have about the same chance as me getting Alexander Hollins.
Your entire team plus your waiver money so I can rebuild it from the ground up. That's the offer. That's the offer.
I just finished rebuilding my team.
You're getting there. Defenses, Toronto, Montreal. I mean, Montreal is been pretty much the only defense that's consistently delivered some sort of value so far this year. But Duke's is also a mobile quarterback and has been playing pretty well and pretty clean football. So, this might be a week where I just punt the defense position, to be honest. I think Montreal is always the best play you can get, but Toronto's offensive line does not really let the front 7 of the defense through that often. So, that's what we got for defense. I don't know if you guys have anything to add on defense here as well. I think we're all, I always, Trey and I were talking pre-show. I think we're kind of in the same boat of looking at the defense position there. So Let's get into the betting picks for this game.
Well, the road team is the favorite, -3. I'm hating these even spreads this weekend, but that's okay. Montreal's -3 coming into Toronto +3. Battle of undefeateds. Line's right about. Actually, I'm surprised it's actually this close. I thought maybe Montreal would have some favoritism, but I think maybe that people are still kind of not as high on Montreal as they should be, and for that reason, and it's 50.5 is the over under. But for that reason, that I don't think people are very high on Montreal, I'm going to take Montreal -3. I think they'll win by a few more than a field goal. And also give me the over 50.5. Because again, this is one of those ones where I think it'll be 30-25, and that could easily be over the mark. Ryan?
Well, I think we're on the same page again on this one. I do like Montreal at -3. I'm struggling, especially after what they did to Ottawa last week. I'm struggling to pick at what point I'll pick Montreal to lose a game. I don't know if I will for a long time unless injuries happen here. They just look so dominant on both sides of the ball. And because they look so dominant on defense, the 50.5 does worry me, but also I think they'll put up enough on offense. I think Dukes does get, that offense going a little bit. Yeah, give me the over on this one as well. Again, the league averaged 62.5 points a game last week. So these spreads are nothing for these over-under totals. Adam?
I'm the same way. I mean, if this game was -10, I'd be still thinking about Montreal in all honesty. Montreal's dominant right now, and I don't see anything stopping them, especially a rookie quarterback, to be honest with you. I'll take the over in this one as well because I think it could be a gunslinging battle in the end. Especially on Montreal side, Fajardo seems to really be lighting it up lately. And Duke's, he's been getting some good points as well. So give me Montreal, give me the over, and the coin tells me that it'll be the Toronto Argonauts.
All right. The first pick to differ here so far tonight.
Coin's trying to make up space.
Exactly. Any player props that interest you here on this one, Trey? You are muted.
Sorry, I had horses on in the background, and then I forgot to unmute myself. I like the over on both quarterbacks. Cam Dukes 240.5 and Fajardo 280.5. I think slam dunk on the over. Both quarterbacks also over 1.5 passing touchdowns. I like, and the bettors don't think Kadeem carries out because his over under 72.5. But if we're thinking his production might be limited, you might be thinking hitting the under. I'm not because he's in my fantasy lineup, but just to people who think he's out. And of course, Phil Pott, you got to take him over 79.5. And where's his receptions? Does he have it? Doesn't look like it's up, but if there is receptions, hit the over on that as well, whatever it is.
It almost seems like FanDuel has just decided this week that receptions aren't a thing because maybe people have been making too much money off of those ones. I think I'd go the under on the Dukes passing yards, honestly, at 240.5. In his 2 games so far this year, he's thrown for 254 and 214 against better defense or against worse defenses than what he's facing in this one. So I go under there, maybe a bit under. It's a handful of rushing yards for him. Fajardo over 280, absolutely. Fajardo over 1.5 passing touchdowns. I like that for him to get a couple there again. Fletcher 52.5 rushing yards. I could see that. I could just see a lot of overs, honestly, on a lot of these props. When it comes to receivers, my favorite is I like to kind of sometimes shy away from the guy with the biggest total that everybody's expecting to have and find the lesser one that I know is going to hit it. To me, that's got to be Julian Grant at 62.5 because I think he gets a couple big receptions and that puts him right over that line. So that would be kind of my favorite receiver prop amongst them there. Adam, any that interest you?
Probably I'll take the under on Kadeem Carey. I'm sorry, Trey, but yeah, I don't know. I don't think they're going to run the ball much on Sean Lemon and a few of the other defensive line in Montreal. I liked yours, Ryan, there, especially on the quarterback. I don't think not Chad Kelly, he's going to get 0. I can guarantee you on that one. On Cameron Dukes, though, I think he's going to get under 240. Usually you'd think that would be pretty low, but you know what? That defense in Montreal's is pretty good. So I'll go with that one there. And anytime touchdown, I'm gonna go on the over for Philpo. He'll get one touchdown.
What's odds that? Minus 120.
You're not making much off of that one there.
No, I know I'm not, but moral victory.
Yeah, there aren't. I always like looking for the ones with big odds on here. There aren't any fantastic ones, but
if you want to go with that, I like Philpott. Philpott scored 2 touchdowns plus 500. You know, I mean, he's been picking up at yards. I think plus 500 is a good wager for that.
Yeah, like Cody Fajardo plus 195 on a anytime touchdown. I could see that. You know, if Carey is a little banged up, Deontay McMahon plus 230 after his big touchdown run last week.
You think Fajardo's going to scamper in for a touchdown? That's fun.
I think he could.
Okay. Yeah, is he that mobile? I guess so.
Oh yeah, he's got 20 plus rushing yards a game. Wasn't it just you last that was telling me about how he was like the 9th leading rusher in the league or something like that?
I'm overtired. I probably said that.
I think you did. All right. Third game of the week. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers winless visiting the Calgary Stampeders in Calgary. Yet somehow the Bombers are favorites on this one. Adam and I will just turn off the microphones. Take it away, Trey. What interests you most?
I want Jake Maier to just have a game, just to have the best game of his life. Like, he deserves it. This is his last football game in his career, last win. I hope it's the best one ever. That's all I hope, man. And just put Winnipeg in a spot that they're not favored at all for the rest of the year. Like, I just think it's wild how this game is still like, how are they favored? Like, how? The Calgary's what, 1-2 or 2-1? 1-2? No, they had a bye, so 1-1, right? Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Oh, I was like, why are you guys putting in stuff in the private chat when I'm talking? You can't do that. Okay. But yeah, I'm just sick of the Bombers right now, man. And I think, not sick. It's a little overdrafted, but they're 9th. I can see the argument about putting Hamilton lower, but I think Hamilton has a lot better chance of winning their first game this week than Winnipeg does. So that's kind of where I'm at, guys. I could talk all day about Winnipeg, and we make this a 3-hour show. So let's just get on to Calgary.
Well, I got to bring one thing up, though, because, you know, in Saskatchewan this week, we're all sitting around drinking green Kool-Aid, celebrating 3 victories in a row, and gleefully watching as the Winnipeg Blue Bombers are coming unglued at the seams. I mean, Saskatchewan is just in their glory at the moment. I mean, watching Winnipeg collectively lose their mind, I mean, it's pretty much like a pastime for the Rider fans. Nevertheless, we can't have too much good stuff, Trey. I mean, you're telling me there's absolutely no chance, even though Dalton Schoen's injured, there's still no chance whatsoever for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers to win this one?
They should have really never let Milt Stiegel go from training camp. They need the wide receiver depth.
We talk about having this potent offense, and is Oliveira even fully healthy back? We don't know about that, and we don't know about the receiving core. The defense was mutilated last week too, with like 3 or 4 injuries. Man, I don't know. And the special teams is just bleh.
I'm really surprised with Schoen going out on the 6-game injured list, presumably, if he hasn't officially been put there yet. I'm really surprised the Bombers didn't make a move this week to bring in some wide receiver depth. Like listening to CJOB postgame show, you know, they talked about a lot of the guys that I had kind of in mind as well. You know, Lucky Whitehead, Terry Godwin was just released by Hamilton, Jake Winnipeg, rough year in Saskatchewan last year, but look what he did when he was with Montreal. You talk about, you know, a handful of different guys like that are out there on the market still. And you think with Winnipeg, because not only did Schoen go down, Carrick Wheatfall, who was their big addition the week before, gets 1 or 2 catches and then goes down in this game, and he's out, presumably with injury as well. We have no idea what this Bombers depth chart is going to look like for Saturday night at this point at wide receiver. It's going to be everybody cover Nick Dembski and maybe one guy on Drew Wolodarski, and that's really all they've got from the big names we know of and are used to, that Bombers receiving corps. So somebody's going to have to step up to give this team a spark. I think going to this last game against BC, that this looked a lot closer to the Bombers I expected to see this year, though. Like, the defense, yeah, they got eaten alive by VA, but that was expected. But the offense got back on track in more of a fashion. And even though Zach Garo still hasn't thrown a touchdown pass this year somehow, which is insane, they put points on the board. Thank you, Chris Trevler. So, I don't know, got a little bit back on track last week, but then the injuries make you take a step back. So, it's still looking a little bleak here in Winnipeg. Adam, anything else on Winnipeg here for you, or what do you want to tell us about Calgary?
Well, Calgary, I mean, there's actually quite a nice developing crop of young receivers there. If you look, I think Reggie Bagleton is leading them still, but nevertheless, there's lots of good names in that receiving core that are coming up. And Winnipeg, again, there's teams that are just not afraid of that secondary anymore. I think that probably Calgary has the advantage there, and I'll be watching that pretty closely to see what happens between the secondary of Winnipeg's and Calgary's receiving core. That's one place I'll be watching.
Is Deatrick Nichols still injured again this week?
Wasn't he out there last week already?
He was injured. He didn't practice Tuesday. He was a full participant on Wednesday, so maybe the Bombers get him back. That would be a big boost in the defensive backfield for sure. But, yeah, Jake Maier. It's kind of had the strong start to the year here so far. And actually, I'll credit Zach Schnitzer from Bonfire Sports. I saw this from him on X that I think Jake Maier has the most deep balls in the league so far this season, or that high average or something like that. And the Bombers give up the most deep plays this year. So some potential for a big game from Maier here to get back on track and just continue getting its season back on track after a rough year last year. And Calgary's honestly looking a lot better, I feel like, than we all gave them a chance to look coming into the year.
I agree.
Yeah. Their secondary is better than it was last year. Demario Houston looks good. You're right, Jake Maier looks like he's having a renaissance of sorts. Dietrich Mills is still running the ball very well. I think Calgary actually looks like a fairly reasonably good team this year.
We're not at fantasy yet, but you know how little I've been on Jake Maier. He is my starting quarterback and captain right now in fantasy because I think it's just time, and I have the Calgary defense as well in there because I think both of them will get me back in the win column because Maier, I think, has been actually doing pretty good. I mean,
he's completed 80% of his passes, or like 79, which tops in the league. Like, for a guy that was not accurate last year or not putting yards on the like last year, he was both inaccurate and his accurate passes were not going for more than like 6 yards. Now he's spreading it out, sending the ball downfield, much like we talked about with Fajardo, and that's been a huge difference. And that's been big for Calgary to come up with those big plays, put some life into them here. I just want to, go back to our free agent frenzy show, and I believe I did pick Calgary to go on to the Grey Cup out west, and then somehow, between in those 2 to 3 months that followed, I ended up putting them last place in the West Division in my preseason predictions. So I'm trending a little bit back closer to a February version of me right now, where I'm high on these Stampeders so far this year, and I'm excited to see what they can do this week. Let's talk fantasy here in this game. You open it up on Jake Maier. I am also strongly considering Jake Maier. He's not as mobile of a quarterback, though. He hasn't run it yet this year, so that maybe turns me off versus a guy like Fajardo or Vernon Adams, who are going to pick up the extra points. But 18.9, 18.1, 19.6 fantasy points in his 2 games so far, 4 touchdowns in 2 games, 1 interception only, averaging almost 300 yards a game. I think Mayer's been very good in that Bombers defense. The Bombers are just banged up, so I think Mayer could be in for a good day. And I would put him into quarterback consideration for this week. I'll just run through all my picks for this game because there aren't that many. Winnipeg, I'm not taking anybody. There's nobody I'm considering. I'm not considering Zach Collaros. I'm not considering Oliveira until it's confirmed he's getting the full workload again. Came back last week, but the coach seems to want to ease him in here. Their wide receivers, who the heck knows? I don't care if Nick Dembski goes off for 50 points and I lose all my fantasy matchups because everybody else has it in the lineup. I'm not putting Nick Dembski in my lineup. I'm just not banking on a high-priced Bombers receiver. I swore it off a couple weeks ago, and I'm just not going to do it because you never know. So, yeah, I'm out on all the Bombers. I'm out on the Calgary wide receivers for the same reason I was for Toronto's, in that they spread the ball around an awful lot. I think it was 9-10 receivers last time for Calgary out as well. So I don't know if I'm going that direction. Maybe Bagleton, but again, he had kind of a lower total last week. They've got all these young guns, these exciting players. You don't know who's going to be their leading guy. But I like Mayer potentially, and I really like Dedrick Mills as one of my running back considerations as well. 6 catches on 7 targets for 99 yards last week for Dedrick Mills. 11 carries, 13 carries. He's looked pretty good so far in his couple of games. So Mayer and Mills are kind of the little ones leading the way for me in this game. Trey, you mentioned Mayer. You mentioned Calgary's defense. Anybody else in this game for you?
Sorry, me?
Yes, you. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I'm cutting it a little bit again here. No, I already said defense and Mayer. That's kind of all I'm going. I'm kind of stay. Bombers is the most no-go land possible, I think, in the league right now. And yeah, no one. It's weird. Mayer's been doing pretty good, but yeah, no one's super overly impressed me on that receiving core. There's not one target like we see in, or 1 or 2 targets like we see in BC and stuff. So I think Mayer's going to get it done, though. Adam?
Let's put it this way. In the private fantasy league, I pretty much purged myself of most Winnipeg Blue Bomber. And yeah, that's pretty much what I'm doing in this cell. So I have no Bombers. I have no Stampeders right now. I might consider Reggie Bagleton, but I don't think I can afford him. If I don't afford him, I may think of Clark Barnes as a last-minute pick. But even him, I don't think it's enough to make my mind pick him. So there's other players that I can get the better deal on that'll have a better potential. There's nobody on either team that I'm after.
Yeah, that's totally fair. And looking at the defenses as well, like I get where you're going with the Calgary angle. They've struggled to put pressure on the quarterbacks. My only thing. 0 sacks against BC after how many they at BC, Toronto put up against BC in week 1 was a little concerning for me, but they're cheaper. They're a lot of great defense options this week. Let's get into our betting picks for this one. I know your internet's been cutting in and out, Trey, but are you good to take us into betting? I think you're here.
Yeah, I'm good now. As long as you guys can hear me. You good? Okay, we're good. Perfect. Calgary, the home underdog, which is utter BS. But not because home field advantage matters, just because the team they're playing can't play at home, on the road, or in a neutral site. They can't play Pee Wee flag football, I don't think, right now. So I'm going to take Calgary +3. Oh, I dropped my baseball. I'm going to take Calgary money line as well. And 47.5. Give me the under. I don't think it'll be crazy high scoring, but I think it'll be like Calgary 25 and Winnipeg less than that, obviously. So yeah, give me Calgary outright, Calgary +3 and the under. Ryan?
Just again, copy and paste. Yeah, as long as you keep making the Bombers the the favorite, keep cashing in on that. So give me Calgary. I'm feeling better about the Stamps right now, and the +3, and yeah, well, it depends. How many touchdowns is Chris Streveler going to score in this one? I'll go the. Will I go the over? No, I'll go the under. I'll go with you on the under. I got to go under on at least one of these games, and this one's most likely the one to be it. Adam, are you running the table here again?
Yeah, I think I'm going to run the table on this one here. I don't see the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, especially with Calgary getting Jake Maier starting to be comfortable, and I think it's going to get more comfortable in this game. Honestly, I haven't seen much out of the D-line of Winnipeg that really scares me for a younger quarterback, so I'm going to go with the Calgary Stampeders on this one. I'll take them outright to win it, actually, not just cover the -3 or +3. And yeah, I'll go with the under as well. Again, if you're getting points off Chris Streveler runs, means there's been a lot of struggling to get in there. I think probably, yeah, it's going to be one of those that won't be a whole lot of points, but I think will be enough for Calgary. So now the coin, let's see what it thinks today. It takes the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Foolish coin.
Oh, man, the coin's going 4-0 this weekend. I just feel it.
Exactly. We're going to feel like garbage.
Player props on this game. Why is there no option for Chris Streveler 5+ touchdowns? Because he has all touchdowns but like 1 this year or 2. I think Augustine's got 2. Chris Streveler's got like 4, and that's all the Bombers have scored all season long. How does that happen?
I don't know, man.
What do you got on props here, though?
Oh, man. This one might be one that I kind of stay away from. Maybe Jake Maier over 277.5. Really not going to go crazy with Bombers or Calgary receiving core running backs. Am I cutting in and out?
I think you are.
Here?
I think you are cutting
out
a little. Yeah, I think you are cutting a little bit out. I don't know if you want to reload and hop back in here, Trey. I can give some prop takes here in the meantime. With Trey on the Jake Maier over in this one. 277.5 is the line there. Caleros under 262.5. Book that one. I think. Yeah, probably not going to any of these Calgary or Winnipeg receivers for the most part, but I might tail what Trey did last week and take Drew Wolodarski to go with the over at 51.5 because he's now the number 2 receiver in Winnipeg with all of the injuries. And Dedrick Mills over 69.5 would be strongly in consideration for me as well. Adam, I don't know if you were able to pull up the props this time, but what do you got? You are muted.
I should unmute myself, maybe. That's better. Anyways, I wanted somehow for them to allow me to take Zach Caleros to get 1 touchdown. He's got to get 1 touchdown in this game. The over-under is 1.5, and I think he'll get 1. I don't think he's going to get the other one. He's only going to get 1 touchdown this game. So I don't know. I guess I could take the under on that one for under 1.5. So other than that, I didn't see a whole lot that I really enjoyed. Markham Michelle is 52.5 for the over-under. I'd probably take the over on Markham Michelle maybe because I do like his odds against the Winnipeg defense. So
he's hovered right around there too, 45 and 47 yards in his first 2 games. So
yeah,
been right there. Yeah, I think you cut out a little bit before there, Trey. I don't know if I think you said you were mostly staying away from Calgary receivers and Winnipeg as well in this one.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the last game of the week, which is Cats visiting the Ottawa Redblacks. Hamilton also winless on the season. Ottawa looked good in their first win against Winnipeg. Was that all a facade as they got throttled by the Montreal Alouettes in their second game? What's the big storyline on these two teams here for you? Let's go to you first, Adam.
I think the big storyline is it starts with number 12 on the Hamilton Tiger Cats, and I think it also ends with number 12. Had 5-6 throws at last week and not a single catch. I mean, the dam's about to burst for Tim White. He's got to eventually get out of this. He's paid way too much to not make a catch in a game. This is a rivalry game. This is a divisional game. He's got to get out of this one if they have any hope for Hamilton to win this one, to be honest with you. Yes, Keandre Smith has looked good. Yes, Shamar Bridges has looked good. But honestly, they need Tim White. And as soon as Tim White gets some touchdowns and gets some good, well, not even touchdowns, get some good catches in his hands, I think all of a sudden you're going to see the fortunes maybe turn a little bit for Hamilton. So, yeah, that's what I'm going to be watching for, Tim White, and seeing if he actually, gets a catch.
He's got to get one, right? Like, he's got to get at least one. He's got to get at least one catch here. So, and I'm not that concerned for Tim White. He did this last year too. Last year he had a game with 0 catches in the first half of the year, and also had games of 0.2, 1.7, 4.1 fantasy points in a rough 5-game stretch earlier on in the year. And then down the stretch, he made it up with 30-plus point games and ended up being the league's leading receiver. So he'll get it together yet. Seems maybe him and Bo have a bit of a connection issue, just like Trey's internet. I think Trey's unfortunately out for the rest of the night here, so we'll carry the way here the rest of the way, you and I, Adam. Tim White, I think there will be the bounce back, but there is the disconnect now. Like we talked about Travis Fulgham getting released by BC and the disconnect there. Well, Tim White has been almost as bad. He's not getting released. He's not getting traded. Let's get that talk out of the way. But it has not looked good. And meanwhile, Bo's, been able to find some other success with some of those other young guys there. So they're still getting it done, but it did definitely, for both of these teams, really did not look good last week, right? Like Ottawa was blown out. Hamilton was blown out. Bo turned the ball over a heck of a ton against Saskatchewan in that one, and we were a little bit back to old Bo, weren't we?
Yeah. No, Bo Levi didn't look like himself for the first or he did look like himself. I don't know which way to look at it with Bo Levi anymore. But he didn't look like a touchdown machine like he did against the Riders the earlier week. Last week, yeah, you're definitely right. A few interceptions and blatantly bad interceptions, not just the bounce it up in the air and it went blatantly out of the way. So it'll be interesting to see how Bo Levi Mitchell recovers in this game here. Same thing over, though, on the Ottawa Redblacks side of the football. Drew Brown finally had his first loss of the year. It was an ugly one. He was beat up by the Montreal Alouettes. You think he's going to come back in this one here? I mean, Hamilton's defense versus Drew Brown. Any thoughts on that?
Hamilton's defense, their yellow jerseys are fitting because they look like Swiss cheese. And that's plain and simple. They're giving up a lot of yards, right, all year long. It's in the 3 games so far, a lot of points on the board. So, I think if any week Drew Brown can get back on track, Hamilton's defense hasn't really gotten any pressure on the quarterbacks for the most part. You know what? That's not true. Looking at double checking the stats here. Hamilton's got the sacks. They've got 7 on the year. They've got no turnovers to show for it, though. So, if Brown can play a clean game and, play that game manager role type of quarterback, I don't think he needs to throw for 300 yards. they can be successful. I think they need to get the run game going a little bit more too. Raquel Armstead was such a breakout player 2 weeks ago against Winnipeg with 16 carries for 95 yards. Had just 6 for 26 against who did they play? Montreal last week. But how much of that was also that they were so far down for the count that they couldn't run the ball the rest of the game, honestly, in that one. So this is going to be the test. This is the bounce back. Which Ottawa team do we get? The one from week 2 or the one from week 3? Which one do you think it leans more towards?
Well, if they can use Armstead in their system, they've got a great return guy in Devontae Dedmon. They can use him for special plays as well. They were using him as a running game as well in week 2 against Winnipeg, and in week 3 just as kind of specials to swap out Raquel Armstead. I actually like Armstead this week because Hamilton really doesn't have a great job of run game. Last week, AJ Ouellette ran all over the Hamilton Tiger Cats. I think maybe Coach Dice might have been looking at something like that. So we'll see what happens. But I think if I'm the Ottawa Redblacks, I'm going to give them a heavy dose of the run. And we've got receivers on that team as well, right? I mean, you got a guy like, oh my gosh, you got Justin Hardy. You've got Dominic Rhymes. You've got a few great receivers in there, Jalen Acklin, that could really make some good plays. But you got to give them time, and that means you got to get the run game going early. And I think Ottawa will go and do that this week. Over on the Hamilton sideline, though, it's also interesting because James Butler has been questionable this week so far.
Yeah, he's got a head injury. Sounds like he's in concussion protocol, which is concerning there. Certainly, James Butler, I think, is a focal point of that offense, although he was kind of quiet last week for them. But I think when Butler is going, so too is this offense. So that's definitely a concern to see Butler out. If he is out, it sounds like it'll be Greg Bell, who has been a healthy scratch, getting back in there or getting in there for the start for the Ticats. Is Leatre in Hamilton? Litre's in Hamilton too, right? So
yeah, and he had a few plays last week, I think.
Oh yeah, he's the backup quarterback behind center on the 1 yard line. So yeah, I think we'll see an interesting mix of those guys there. FM fan in the chat, we know he loves his Ticats. Mentions Moxie making his Ticats debut at linebacker this week. So that's a guy who's been known to force some turnovers. So maybe that helps them out in that category a little bit. I think it's going to be
How did DeAndre Smith there of the Ticats, how did he not get a concussion? That hit there on him and Marcus Sales last week. I mean, that was just devastating.
I thought he was the one down at first, to be honest, because I saw him get lit up like that, and then turns out it was Sales. Yeah, heck of a hit, and I think he came back after that actually and caught a touchdown pass yet too. So he's looked good so far to start the year, and I think if you're ready, let's get into the fantasy picks for this game. Not go in the direction of either of the quarterbacks as much as I pay $100 for Bo Levi Mitchell. I don't think he's my starter this week. I'm not fully trusting Drew Brown, even though I think there could be a lot of offense potentially in this one. Running backs, again, I'd probably stay away from Butler just given the injury situation. But if Greg Bell's starting for $2,500, that's a cheap play. I live by the rule. You got to score like a 1.5 points per thousand you spend. So, $2,500 running back, you get like 4 points and you're having a good day. And most of them should probably get more than that. So I like him potentially. Raquel Armstead, we talked about him. I like the bounce back this week. I think the game script last week kind of ruined his fantasy week there a little bit with getting written out of that game. So I think he gets back on track, and he is still pretty cheap. Correct me if I'm wrong on fantasy.
Yeah, I've actually got him, so I can tell you, he is 4.5. So
yeah, so.
The other guy that I've got him this week, remember last week I violated my rule. I decided I was going to take an expensive defense and go and win it all. Yeah, thanks, Toronto. I love the -3 points. Really appreciate it. So this week I'm not making my same mistake. I'm going to be disciplined, I took the Hamilton defense because they are the cheapest defense. No other reason. They're not good. They're probably not going to get me any points. They're probably not going to do anything, but they're the cheapest one, and I have to pick a defense. And, yeah.
They're the cheapest by a mile. They're $4,600. The next cheapest is like $7,000. So, Hamilton's defense has put up a whopping 3 fantasy points in 3 games so far this season. You're really not going to get points from them, but all the defenses underwhelmed last week. Besides Saskatchewan's 20 points or whatever they had. They had 19, Montreal had 9, the next highest was Winnipeg with 2. So you save the money there, you're not missing out on a whole ton. So Hamilton, Drew Brown maybe still a little improving. I like the defensive pick there as well for them there. At wide receiver, there are some very interesting plays to be had in this game. You going to put Tim White in your lineup? I'm certainly not until I see him have that bounce back. I'm not spending that much, but a couple receivers I really like. I'll throw out the one Trey mentioned that he does have in his lineup is Keandre Smith. He's had 12.7, 23.9, and 16.2 points. Touchdowns in 3 straight games for Keandre Smith. Shamar Bridges is probably, honestly, the value play of the year until he becomes the most expensive receiver there. 15.5, 19.2, and 26.3 fantasy points. He has a touchdown in his last 2 games. He's got 11 targets, 7 targets, 10 targets. He is the go-to cheap receiver of the year. So I like either of those 2 a lot for Hamilton. And I like Justin Hardy. He is not, again, 9 targets for 111, 10 targets for 143 in his back-to-back games here, over 20 points in both of them. Seems like he is very much taking the lead as the number 1 receiver there in Ottawa. So starting to get some clarity on Drew Brown, loving him as a target. I've got in my lineup right now, I do have Justin Hardy in there, and I'm definitely thinking about some of these Hamilton guys at receiver as well. Any of them for you?
Yeah, Justin Hardy's instantly on my roster on this week. He's always getting the ball in Ottawa. No matter last year, this year, he always seems to be there for when they need to make that pass or get the 10 yards. It's always Justin Hardy. I was looking at Jalen Acklin for a few minutes, and then I realized he's too expensive still. Just for what you're getting. Shamar Bridges is, without a question, a guy that needs to be on a roster just because the cost of him is very reasonable. He's always seemed to make those plays right now. He's the guy that essentially is filling in a little bit for Tim White. Private fantasy league, I might play Tim White just because I got him, and it don't cost me nothing to play him, except for a spot. But otherwise, no, 10,000 is too much. You can't risk spending $10,000 and getting 0 points. It's just not worth it.
Yeah, I agree. All right, betting picks for this game. Well, betting expert Trey isn't here because he thanks the internet connection, but so I'll take us through this one here. Ottawa at home, 1-point favorite. So it's basically a pick 'em in this game between these two teams. Over under is at 51.5. Trey is taking Hamilton and the under. And once again, I think me and him are lining up on every single pick this week. I'm going with the Ticats and the under on this one as well. They're a team to me that at times hasn't looked good in their 3 losses, but they've looked better than I expected. And I'm still not sold on Ottawa. I think that win over Winnipeg was a bit of a smokescreen given now that we've seen how bad Winnipeg has been so far. So I think the Ticats are going to get their first win of the week. They're the team I'm most confident in to do that, get their first win of the year. So give me Hamilton here. I'll take the under on this one as well, 51.5. Their offenses could put some points on the board, but also I think they do have some ineptitudes there as well. What are you saying on this one?
Yeah, I think I'm going to be with you guys again. Unfortunately, I always don't like picking exactly what you all do, but this time I think it's pretty straightforward. Hamilton has probably the better receivers right now, minus Tim White, who I say any week now is going to take off. It's Tim White's traditionally slow, as you said at the beginning of the year, But you know what? Bo Levi Mitchell has played pretty good last week, maybe the exception with a few picks. He's not going to do that twice in a row. I don't believe this year. I think Bo Levi Mitchell has improved a bit. I'm a little concerned with Hamilton's running game, I should say, with James Butler probably being out. I'd be very concerned about that. Although Litre has had some good games. Also, Bell might give him something. I like Ottawa's run game better, but yeah, the receiving game and the quarterbacks, I think experience wins in this one. I'll go with the Hamilton Tiger Cats, and I will go with the under on this one as well. I don't see either team really getting a whole lot of points. So, in other words, definitely take the over and take Ottawa because, you got to be different than us. Yeah, and the coin, let's see what the coin wants to say today. The coin is taking the away team. So it's taking the Hamilton Tiger Cats.
All right.
And it is going, well, I don't know what it's doing for over-under. It didn't tell me.
Oh, that's okay. We'll never know. We'll never know what the coin is predicting. I got the player props up here for this game. Take a look through those as well. I sent you the link in case you needed it. Yeah. Bo Levi Mitchell's line is 305.5 on passing yards. I don't know. Bo Levi Mitchell even last week he had a rough week, but he was still putting the yards up. I mean, he had 295. I think I would take honestly the over on Bo on this one to go over 305.5. I think I'd take Drew Brown for. I think I'll go slightly under for Brown on the 272. He doesn't strike me as the 300, 350 yard passer necessarily on this one. Armstead, I like over 69.5 of the receivers. Again, I don't take unders too often because I think just one big play kind of ruins your day for something like that. So I'd rather just leave those and take the overs that I'm more confident in. Keandre Smith is 55.5. He's hit that. Pretty close to that last week, 119 in week number 2. I would consider that play. We talked about him in fantasy. Shamar Bridges at 76.5. If he's going to keep getting 9-10 targets a game, yeah, I'm going to take Shamar Bridges to hit his over there as well. And same thing with Justin Hardy, over 83.5. It's a big line, and there are other receivers spread the ball around, but I think Hardy's that go-to guy right now. So those are my favorite props. Anything catch your eye here, Adam?
There's a couple that are interesting, but really nothing that I feel comfortable with a bet on, to be honest with you. And when that's the case, remember, kids, don't go betting the ant farms. So
no, you're allowed to bet the ant farm. You just can't bet the farm.
Oh, the real farm. Okay.
Yeah, an ant farm is like $7 off Amazon.
Well, but sometimes $7 is quite a bit, and plus shipping and handling and everything else. You got to be careful in that. So, but remember, if you don't feel comfortable in a bet, don't make a bet. On this one here, I'll tell you right now, I don't feel comfortable really with any of these. I was looking at maybe doing the Litre one for the cheap one for running it in a few times. But no, I don't know. I honestly looked at all of these here and I seen nothing that really, really excited me.
Yeah. And you know what? Yeah. Just to echo your point that is the excellent point that bet responsibly. Don't bet just for the sake of betting, and don't bet something you're not comfortable on, for sure. I like to try to throw out, I try to do like 4 to 5, perhaps props, really low amount each game. We've had some success with that so far this year. If you want a payout one here for you, that would intrigue me. Devontae Dedmon plus 410 on a touchdown. He has looked explosive so far this year in the return game. The return touchdowns don't happen that often, but
he's the only one that I think has one this year so far, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so too. So that would be an intriguing one for me there as well. Of course, make sure you check out the Discord community because we are throwing out the player props closer to game day for every single one of these games in the CFL betting channel over there as well. And that does it here. We're at our hour and a half mark. We've gone through all the 4 games, and I think we're getting ready to wrap things up here. Anything else quickly, Adam, you want to mention?
Ryan, you did want to mention how our CFC private fantasy league went last week.
Yeah, sure. I'll let you. I mean, you won the week, so go ahead, toot your own horn.
Well, no, I thought you were going to mention them. You know, just like go and throw in the down goes Fraser, and it's pretty much just like a big match. Or
I stopped mentioning our fantasy league here every week because people got tired of hearing how much you guys lose by generally. So no, if people do want to follow along, I mean, my BC Lions combined for 80 something points. The rest of my lineup didn't do a whole ton. Adam beat me by 3.6 points, and Trey beat me by 0.9. At this rate, Adam will pass me in 11 weeks. So back to the drawing board with my $0 of waiver wire money. Thanks, Bo Levi Mitchell. Meanwhile, Mike's getting close to getting relegated from the league with his scores so far this year. So, but he did put up 170 something points in the weekly fantasy in the Discord league, which is pretty darn impressive there. So kudos to him. And I took for those keeping track at home, I took down Trey in both of our leagues last week in the head-to-head matchups. So fantasy guru is back, everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, so far I've been 3-0 in the podcast fantasy league, but boy, you know, we got some good fans. They're tough over on our own fantasy league there, and they seem to get me all the time. And last week I think I won by 0.6 points, but Jeez. Barely. Like, I mean, it was just ugly. I thought honestly Keon Schaefer-Baker didn't make it for me, and somehow it ended up where I won by 0.6.
And then you lost by like 2 points this week. So,
did I lose by 2 points this week?
In the Discord league, I think you did. Yes.
In the Discord, okay. I have to check. I thought that's the one I won by 0.6.
Not last time I checked with stat corrections this morning. So I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but
the darn stats corrections.
It's those darn stats corrections. I needed 49 more points from stat corrections to reach 200 on the week.
Yeah. Okay. Anyways, it's been a good year so far for me on fantasy. I said I had to be better than last year. So far, I've pulled it.
Yeah, you're doing pretty good. And matchup between you and Trey this week in the Discord league. So good luck with that this week. All right, let's get into wrapping things up here on this week's show. I think that's the one I want. That'll do. We'll be back again next week to preview week number 5 of the CFL season. Do all the same things we did here tonight. In the meantime, follow us over on social media. We've actually been pretty active there so far this year. On Twitter at CF Countdown Pod, Facebook.com/CF Countdown Pod there as well. Every week on Mondays, you'll find Trey's power rankings. You'll find a poll of the week on Tuesdays from Adam. Do we have our poll results from this week?
Yeah, I can grab them here real quick while you're finishing up this little bit. I'll grab that.
Yeah, sounds good. For the poll of the week. On Thursdays, you get my CFL Fantasy Value Plays of the week over on social media as well. And of course, links to the episodes throughout the week as well. So lots going on over there on social media. You can find the others from the crew there. Mike's at Mike Garrell, Trey's at Trey Harnesslink, and he's got a ton of different horse racing, UFC, CFL content going on all over there. You can find me at Cooper Trooper 42 on Twitter. Don't tweet a whole ton, a little more here and there with all the engagement going on with the show account, and really just getting hyped up for Shrek 5. Really, that's what it is. 2025. Apparently Eddie Murphy's recording his lines, so can't wait for the podcast team outing to that one, Adam.
Yeah, absolutely. That might be worth a road trip. Is it actually? I thought it was just it was the origin story. It's a prequel for Donkey.
I think they're doing both.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's tempting, man. That's tempting.
Who
cares? Yeah. Who cares about Star Wars or any of the other stuff? Deadpool 3, who cares? Shrek 5. That's for
Oh,
sure.
yeah.
Without a doubt. Anyways, you can follow me at Adam Stewart 1. Springs about 55, 60 acres, and then I'm done. So getting closer. And then I take one day off and go start cutting hay. So, fun times. Anyways, for our poll this week, the question was, which team will not be or will get their first win this week? Of course, Winnipeg, Edmonton, or Hamilton. Fans all voted the Hamilton Tiger Cats will be the team to get their first win this week. And then second place on X was Winnipeg. Otherwise, none of the teams will get their first win this week was the second most popular option. So
I think I voted for none of these teams in the poll. But in the last day and a half, I've changed my mind on Hamilton. It's close enough. I'll give them the win this week. So
I was laughing about the one guy that went and told me. So they said which team will lose their first game of the year will be Montreal, Saskatchewan, or Toronto. I love the Bomber fans, guys. Bomber fans voting Saskatchewan this week when we're on a bye. Somehow we're still losing this week. It's nice to know.
All you've done is win so far. Saskatchewan's 3-0, Winnipeg's 0-3. What more could you want in Saskatchewan?
I mean, a NHL team would be nice.
I guess, but the Saskatchewan Corn.
Although Winnipeg's also looking for an NHL team.
Well, yeah. Hey, no, Winnipeg's NHL team was mentioned by the Stanley Cup winning coach in his post-game press conference. The most bizarre statement to me, unless he's retiring, like when he says, I hope the Jets win the next cup. Would you not, as the coach of the Florida Panthers, hope the Florida Panthers win the next cup? Is my thought. But
you know what, Paul Maurice, congrats to them. That guy there I love because he's brutally honest. Everything he says is what he's thinking exactly that moment. What was the first thing asked him? So what are you feeling? Well, I've hugged so many sweaty men today. So many. And I'm like, yeah, that's Maurice. So congrats to him. Congrats to Kachuk and Bennett and Bobrovsky and the entire Florida Panthers. Yeah, he's still on the case. Apparently he's getting his gun and badge any day now.
And now he's on the cup. There we go.
Yeah. And even the Oilers, though. Oiler fans, you guys shouldn't be too depressed. That was a pretty good series. Connor McDavid, I feel sorry for him for having to ride for 8 hours straight on a plane with that Conn Smythe beside him. That probably was a little painful. But nevertheless, Edmonton, you're going to be back there. You know it. Don't even start. Anyways.
And the drought continues, and the curse of Corey Perry continues, and the dominance of the state of Florida in hockey somehow continues here. So, great way to end the game. And, the Canadian drought goes on. I can assure you a Canadian team will win the Grey Cup this year at least, and we'll continue to talk about it each week until they do. What a segue. Really on my game here at the end of a long night. Pat myself on the back for that one. Check out all the other great shows from around the Canadian Football Podcast Network, as well at CF Pod Network on Twitter. I want to give a quick shout out to the Go Stamps Go show as well, who announced they're going on a hiatus, potentially forever, potentially for just this season. But they put a lot of great work in over the years, covering the Calgary Stampeders over there, and have been fun to interact with as well. As they deal with other things and move on to different things. All the best to them. And they're forever going 18-0 in our hearts. The Calgary Stampeders never will, but that podcast will for sure. Undefeated. Forever undefeated. Also check out the Alternative Football Network at the official AFN on Twitter or alternativefootballnetwork.com. What's my next slide here? There we go. Join the Discord, like we mentioned, link in the episode description if you want to join us over there for live game day chats, fantasy betting content, general CFL chatter, all that fun stuff going on over there in the Discord. Link is in the description. Whatever podcast platform you are listening on, we appreciate if you do all the fun things such as like, comment, subscribe, rate, review, share the show with your friends, help us grow the show. We always appreciate that very much. And on behalf of Trey and Adam, I'm Ryan saying thank you for listening. Take care. Have a good one.